If I had a crystal ball and I could look into this crystal ball and tell you guys exactly where your business opportunities lie looking forward, what is working in the future, what is not working in the future, things that we should totally eliminate, things that we should totally start doing in order to see your business grow and flourish. Imagine how amazing that would be. Guys, I don't have a crystal ball, but I do have the next best thing. We've recently just launched our opportunity analysis, and the entire premise of this exercise is to help you guys understand where the holes in your bucket currently lie. Why is that important? Because we don't want to start filling a bucket that's leaking. Guys, for a limited time only, I'm going to be offering this as a free giveaway. It's $350, but for you site shedders, you're going to get it for free. You need to head across to tradie.wiki/grow and enter the code SiteShed to get it for nothing. Off the back of it, book a time to have a chat and we'll see where it takes us. We're looking forward to helping you and seeing where your opportunities lie. Today's podcast has been proudly brought to you by Tradie Web Guys. Tradie Web Guys work with tradespeople only on their websites and marketing solutions to help them stand out from their competition. Everything from web design through to SEO, search engine marketing, content creation, you name it, guys. It is a customized solution for trade-based organizations and it's fantastic. Head across to tradiewebguys.com.au/apply, fill in the form and let's have a conversation.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Site Shed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
Tony, welcome to the Site Shed podcast.
Thanks, Matt. It's cool to hang out today, mate. Been looking for talking.
Mate, it's great to connect on the show. I've been meaning to reach out for a long time, and through a few different angles, I finally got pushed to connect, and here we are.
Happy days.
So you're over in NZ, right?
I am in NZ. Yep.
Lovely.
So little old Hamilton, NZ.
Beautiful. How's things going over there?
Real good, man. It's doing good. We're in our little bubble here.
Sure. Yeah. We're much the same here.
That's right. We can sort of travel to Australia, but not many other places.
Yeah. I'm looking at planning a ski trip actually in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully I can get over there.
Are you really going? Where are you going?
I'll go probably Queenstown or Wanaka.
Yeah, it's hard to beat.
Yeah, I love Wanaka. Wanaka is my favourite place on the planet.
Yeah, so good.
I'm a big Treble Cone fan, so I try and get over there as much as I can.
Yeah, super good.
So you're based in NZ, but you guys operate all over the place. I know you've got operations in the US and Oz, obviously, and you're from Canada. Yeah. Your business is ProfitableTradie.com. Do you want to give us a bit of an intro and a bit of a spiel as to who you are, what you do, how you got there?
Yeah. So Profitable Tradie. So effectively, we're business coaches. We help trade business owners, plumbers, electricians, painters, glazers, tiliers, landscapers, that kind of thing. Improve their business, make it more successful, both from a money perspective and probably more importantly from a time and an enjoyment perspective. So we've been doing it for over 11 years now, and man, it's cool fun. So it's about a whole bunch of stuff, I guess. Is the basic thing is helping great tradespeople, craftsmen become great business owners.
Sure.
And I think that's you learn how to do the technical stuff, do the actual the trade work, but probably not a lot of training goes on at Tech or TAFE or doing an apprenticeship when you know about how to run a business. So that's where we fit in.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's the reason why I launched the Site Shed back in the day. It was just so we can get people like yourselves on the show to steer people in the right direction with that. Because I mean, I'm formerly a plumber myself, and I know that was certainly the case with us. You go through and finish your apprenticeship, and then you're like, all right, go start a business. And you're like, what? Which part of the apprenticeship where did we learn that?
That's right. Yeah. I reckon what I've noticed, I guess, over the years is that people who own plumbing businesses, electrical businesses, and all that sort of stuff, actually, we're really hard-working people and work hard, good at solving problems. But often, I think there's a tendency to just work hard and you'll think everything will come right, which, generally it doesn't. You've actually got to do a little bit of different stuff, learn some different stuff. And that's what we're excited about, mate. That's our reason for being. So.
Yeah, that's right. And I think realistically, we're kind of preaching to the choir here, to be fair. Like we've, got people that are listening or watching this wherever they are around the world in that space where they're looking for information and they're, for the better part, looking to implement, which is the key. So
100%.
I know the guys out there, credit to you guys for taking this stuff on board. And today we're diving into one part of a little 3-part series that we're putting together around team building, staff, retention, that kind of thing. This is but one I won't say smaller area, but one area of a much bigger picture when it comes to business building, and probably one of the more significant ones when we're talking and having that discussion around building a business that can scale and essentially remove you from various areas of business.
Yeah, and I mean it's pretty difficult to scale without a great team.
Sure.
So, and I think it's an area that actually pretty stressful for a lot of people. It's quite confronting. Like, it's a couple of areas that are hard. Asking for money's hard.
Yeah.
And dealing with team members and not being able to find the right people and stuff is pretty tough at times. So hopefully we can help with that a bit today through the discussion we're going to have.
So we've done quite a few podcasts over the years on staff, team building, and that kind of thing. But in this series, we're touching on things that we have not ever covered. So for you listeners and viewers out there, don't tune out, because in today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to forecast your team building, something that I've learned as being paramount over the recent 6 months or so.
Yeah.
In the second episode, we're going to be talking about how to make your staff happy and building a culture of, staff that just love coming to work. And we're going to be talking about something called Net Promoter Score, or NPS, which is, again, something that I've been tweaking with internally in our own business lately. So I'm pretty keen to selfishly learn what you have to say on this one. And then in the last episode, we're going to be talking about being that, building a business that people really want to work for and work with, being that employer of choice, and how to build that attraction model into your organization.
Yeah, man, it's good stuff. It's game changer when you get it right.
Sure. Well, we may as well jump into. Oh, actually, I should qualify before we jump in. You do you've just recently written a book, haven't you? So, what was that?
Yep.
What's the book called?
The book's called The Profitable Tradie.
Nice.
And 7 steps for trade business owners to earn more while working a lot less. So
cool.
It's a sort of a combination of the last 11 years of thinking, and got a bunch of examples of how different business owners have actually made some meaningful change in their business as well, actually putting things in place. Because that's the key. We can talk about stuff, and I know we're all really busy, but actually it's implementation that really counts. So
sure.
Some good case studies in there as well. So.
And listeners can get that on Amazon.
They can. Well, actually, I've got a link especially for the listeners. So
cool. Okay,
that may be in the episode notes or something
Perfect.
like that.
Yep, sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
So if you guys, if you guys want to get hold of that, we won't read it out. So you crash your car, but head across to the show notes and you can get it, and I'll post that link in the Facebook community when it comes up.
Yep. Sounds good.
Rock and roll. All right. Well, let's jump in, because this first episode we're talking about forecasting. I think a lot of the listeners and viewers out there are familiar with forecasting, but perhaps not so much on the front line of HR. So I'm keen to sort of see how this plays out. I know, a lot of guys are familiar with obviously financial forecasting and, things like that. But then when it comes to actually team building and how to deliver on some of these goals they're setting, that often falls at the wayside. So I guess this is like quite a strategic conversation, correct?
Yeah, I think this is probably the kickoff point, because hiring or building your team, and when I say building your team, I don't mean like team building activities. I mean getting enough people,
sure,
on the factory floor, because your tradespeople, your technicians are your factory.
Yeah.
And if you want to grow your business, you need a bigger factory. There's only a certain amount of work each person can do. So I think the typical approach when your head's down, bum up working is, I'm a bit busy. I need to hire someone else, and I'll put an ad out there, or hey, I might grab an apprentice now. And it's quite I call it a tactical approach. It's like we're going to solve my problem in the next 2 to 3 months. And that's all good. We probably need to do that. But building and hiring and creating a great team is so important. I think we need to take a bigger picture of that. And I like to, as you said, call it a strategic view. So that really starts from figuring out where you want your business to be, what you want to achieve with your business. So it's like the high level vision of what's important for you as a business owner and as a person, your family, activities you want to do, investing you want to do, all that other stuff, which is what life's about. And I'm a huge believer in creating a business that actually serves your life rather than you just serving your business. We don't want to be a slave to the business. So
sure.
We start with the end in mind. What's the big picture goal for our business? And so we talk about that, and then we figure out, well, what's the profit that we'd need to make to really dial that in. And so we come up with a number, and I know for a lot of people, it's really tough to start doing this stuff. It feels a bit awkward, and it's not a muscle that's been exercised maybe a lot. But I guess people are listening to this podcast probably have more of that mind already, which is cool. So you might decide that you want to make $500,000 in profit, and that's going to give you the lifestyle that you want. So that's the starting point. Figure that out, and then we work backwards from there to understand how much revenue we'd actually need to do as a business. So if you know your end goal is $500,000, you'd add your overheads of running your business to that, and then you'd work out, what's your gross margin. Let's say it's 40%, and that'll give you an annual revenue target. And so you've taken your vision, turned it into a profit, turn it into an annual revenue target, and then you just divide that by 12 to get a monthly revenue target. And so, you might be doing, let's say, I don't know, $150,000 or $100,000 in revenue now, and your profit goal means you need to do $200,000 in revenue. Well, that's great. So we know the revenue, and then we can break that down into team. And so we just use some metrics, and they're a rule of thumb, and it might vary for different businesses for sure. But I work on a rough rule of thumb of $25,000 worth of revenue per tradesperson or technician
per month.
Yeah, per month. Yeah. And honestly, sometimes it can be a bit more. Sometimes it can be a bit less. Sometimes you've got, you may have an apprentice, first, second year, third year apprentice who's going to do a bit less. Yeah. You've got a crash hot tradesperson who might do 30 or 35,000. And it will vary depending on the type of work you do, of course. But let's say it was 200,000 revenue per month, and we've got $25,000 per person. So we just do some simple maths. We need eight units. And that's a pretty easy way of forecasting the workforce that we need. So now we know we need 8. At the moment, we've got 4, let's say, and we want to achieve this revenue, this vision in the next 3 years. So really simply, we need to add 4 people to our operation over the next 3 years.
I suppose in reality though, like adding an extra 4, technicians to the team, at a glance that makes sense. But then, there's also the administrative side of the business which might need to grow. You might need to bring on a dispatch manager. You might need to bring on 100% office team, office staff. So how do you incorporate that into the bigger picture?
That's a brilliant question.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, happy days. Again, there's some multipliers that we've found are really helpful to do this. So, for example, we reckon that for supervisor position, operations manager, you'd probably divide the number of tradespeople by 6 or 7. So that's the sort of span of control. So now you've got 8. In that example, you've got 8 people. So you're definitely going to need an operations manager full time.
Sure.
So now you've got 8 people, 1 operations manager, and I think office staff will vary. So that's, might be office manager, reception, customer service rep. It could be a marketing person, could be an estimator. And the rough metrics that we use are 4. So number of tradespeople divided by 4.
Gotcha.
So in that case, we've got an operations manager, and we probably need two people, an admin person, and maybe the general manager would be in the office. So it's not hard and fast, but what it says is $200,000 worth of revenue. We need 8 people in the field. And look, honestly, Matt, it may be 5 tradespeople and 4 apprentices. So it's a rough guide. And then we're going to need a supervisor, and we probably need an office person and someone else, in the back office to make this whole thing fly.
So does that $25K an average per month include those office administration overheads?
No, that's just the revenue that the tradesperson or the tech would produce.
Yeah, I know, but like when we're forecasting and we're saying, okay, well, if we're going to be bringing in, if we need to put 8 techs on, it's going to be bringing in this much extra revenue. Is that going to cover the overheads for? Yeah,
that's factored in, and we factored it in at the start, I guess, when we've worked out what the profit is.
Sure.
We add the overheads in there, and so that will. If you work backwards, and I don't want to get too much into the accounting, but if you get a P&L and you flip it upside down, so instead of
to an L&P,
L&P, you can do that. There's actually a soft drink, soda drink in New Zealand called L&P. So there you go. You slip a bit of some spirits with it; it's all good. Keeps you going.
Do you know?
Yeah. So you'd start with your profit at the top instead of the sales or revenue at the top. Add the overheads. That gives you the gross profit you need to make. Divide that by your gross margins. Then you've got your revenue.
I know in the past, over the recent years, through speaking with the likes of Al Levy and Danny Kerr and these guys that have basically taught us the power of organisational charts.
Yep.
And not even, I mean, having like a current organisational chart, but then also having a organisational chart to come. And that's been massive for us because we've been really able to, like from a forecasting point of view, we've been able to really see what positions need to be put into what places in order for that to become a reality.
100%. So the next step of this process is we know the numbers now, and we basically turn that into an organizational chart for the future. And I think sometimes people get really hung up on, well, you know, what happens if I don't quite get this person or don't quite get that person? Well, that to me is not quite as important as forecasting it out and actually seeing how it looks, because it might change as you go along as well. And that's cool. The whole point of this exercise is to say, you know, here's my structure now, and this is how many people I've got now. This is how it could look in the future based on some metrics that make some sense.
Yeah.
This is the gap, and hey, I've got some work to do, and this work is actually really important. And I understand how big the gap is, and I'm going to actually turn my attention to actually doing it now, rather than just worrying about all the projects of, you know, we've got to finish all the clients who are giving us problems or whatever.
Sure.
Because I think the key thing that I find the winners are really across is they've made that switch between thinking about doing the work to their work as a leader being to build their team.
Yeah.
And then it's the team's job to actually build the business and do the work.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, is like the key fundamental mindset shift. And if you map it out, really helps you see that.
We've also recently, and it's probably more at a management level, but I'm trying to empower the team to grow their departments. And it's been so, you know, I'm equipping them with all of the tools they need in order to recruit and in order to hire, in order to onboard team members and do all that kind of stuff. And they're kind of doing it themselves. So we sort of say, well, at this point, you're going to need a new team member. And we're going through this right now. So the developers are actually out there like recruiting for team members. And I haven't really got to do anything. It's great.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So I think that's quite good when you can empower them to do those kind of things. The reality as well is until I brought them into that position, I was doing a lot of their roles, and the same thing for them. I'm like, well, you guys are flat out and you can't keep up and you can't take holidays because, you know, you haven't got anyone helping you. So where do you need help? Build it out. Let's bring them in. And then, you know, so.
And I think this is another really important point is, you know, if most of us look in the mirror and think about our businesses, we hire too late.
Sure.
We leave it too long, and actually growing a business and even training and inducting new people and getting up to speed, it actually takes a bit of effort. And so it's way harder to find good team members than it is to find good clients, in my book.
Yeah, and I think the reality is, like you say, the problem, and I know definitely from my experience is, I mean, even though I thought I had a good hiring process, I didn't, and there was always room for improvement, and I was just hiring too fast, not putting the early work in, you know, to make sure you're going through the process properly. That whole mantra around hire slow, fire fast kind of thing. You know, I was just hiring fast and firing fast.
Yeah. Well, and look. It's not really the topic for today, but like it's a massive thing. The actual process of hiring and what are the steps. And, you know, with the members of our $1 Million Tradie program, we have an 11-step hiring process, right. And each step is scripted out. This is how you run the telephone interview to, you know, for 10 minutes to make sure you're not going to waste an hour interviewing someone who's hopeless. This is how you run the face-to-face interview. This is how you do the reference check. And I think, if you own a business and you put a lot of effort into building a process for yourself here, that might be the most important work you do, because that's how you multiply yourself.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt. And that process, certainly, like having that process documented has now enabled me to palm that off to somebody else and let them do it. So once you document these things, it sort of frees you up from one other thing.
Yeah, and this is the cool thing. And we have people who, you know, maybe their operations manager now does the hiring of the tradespeople or the techs.
Sure.
And the owner doesn't have to do that anymore because it's systemized, and they can have confidence actually done, you know, the same way each time.
So going back to, I suppose, overview, I mean, essentially we've got, when we're talking about forecasting, we start with the end goal, and we take that end goal, we break it down into digestible, you know, monthly outcomes.
Yep, monthly revenue.
And then from there, we go and apply that to an org chart and see what pieces need to be put in place in order to achieve that revenue.
Yep. And then we look at the difference. Hey, we need 4 extra team members, or we need 10. That's great. And we know we're going to need an operations person or another foreman. And we know we're going to be putting an estimator, quantity surveyor on board, and we're going to need a BDM or a salesperson. Fine. Great. Put that chart up here. You've got your existing one here. what's the difference? And it actually puts the asset on you as a business owner to actually do something about it because it's top of mind. It's actually, something that's visible can become real.
Sure.
I think, and that's the essence of planning.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, mate, carry on.
I was just going to say the obvious, or maybe not obvious question then off the back of that would be, well, okay, now we need to employ a business development / sales person. We need to employ 4 technicians. We need to employ an office staff member. Who do we employ first?
Yeah, good question. Hey, it depends, right?
Sure. No.
I think
we're all going to hold you accountable.
Yeah. I think it really does depend on where you're at. But my experience is that most people wait too long to get some supervisory team members.
Right.
In terms of when you're going from that kind of small 4 or 5, you're wanting to grow through there. That's if you can't get yourself out of dealing with every job each day, it's incredibly difficult to grow, and you'll find a massive amount of freedom comes there. So that's the first level, and it's
tricky though, isn't it? Because you like a lot of these roles. Like you look at a technician, they're out there making money, and you look at someone that manages the technicians, they don't really make money. They just, they do, but indirectly, you know what I mean? Like, so like from a cash flow perspective.
Spoken like a true technician.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's true.
All you do is drink coffee, mate.
That's right. Yeah. You're just mucking around. What are you doing? Like pies and feet up all day. My experience is that once you get to a certain point and you've got, you're juggling lots of balls, lots of jobs, people all over the show, materials, clients ringing. And if you're, as the owner, doing that, and then you're also trying to price work and build some relationships, you start dropping balls. And if you're really monitoring your margins closely, you'll find you get a lot of erosion in your margins because of disorganization.
Sure.
Or you miss work because you physically can't price it. So we often find that the profitability, the margin improves when you get some more organization in the back office because it's just more organized. And obviously labor is the killer. It's you've got to buy materials. You got to do something pretty drastically wrong to mess up the material side of things, apart from
like a global pandemic.
Yeah, like a global pandemic, and you can't get the stuff, right? It's stuck somewhere in the middle of an ocean.
Well, you haven't got a disclaimer in your contract which says it's subject to price rises.
That's right. Yeah. But it's when an hour or two gets lost here or there, and that happens every day. That's what really erodes your margins. So often you can actually make that money back of that person you're employing through improvements in your efficiencies, and maybe that person, 100%. They're half time in the field and half time in the office initially. So thing is, business will never grow unless you do that.
Sure. That's one of the things I suppose it's good about having the organisational chart. It really gives you an understanding of what those roles and responsibilities are so that you can build processes around them and hand them off to team members and they actually know what they're doing. So that's definitely streamlined.
The next thing is you get to another level, and it might be, we typically say it's around 1.5 to 2 million. If you between 1 and 2 anyway, if you don't have someone to do pricing, your business can't really grow through there. Or if you haven't developed some really killer pricing systems, whether that's unit pricing or fixed pricing or a set of good pricing templates, it's very difficult to grow past there. So there you need an estimator to actually punch through the next level. And then you'll need at the 2 million to go above that, you would need a marketing person to really drive the leads because you become a hungry beast then. So it depends on which level you're at.
I suppose the good thing is a lot of those roles and responsibilities that do fall within an organisational chart, even for the forecast, a lot of that can be replaced by technology. A lot of it can be outsourced.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's kind of
there's options.
There's options, yeah, for sure.
And some of them you might want to grow internally. That might provide the bright future or the career path. For some of your your existing team members. We've got a lot of people who've taken a really motivated tradesperson and turned them into an estimator, someone who's good with technology and kind of geeks out on spreadsheets and stuff. They're like a duck to water.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's probably I know we've used that in our recruitment process. Like we've looked at the organisational chart and we've said, listen, this is what we're filling the role right here, but this is the role that we would like you to be in 12 months, provided these KPIs, and it gives people an understanding of where their career path is heading, and they can kind of see, it's potentially going to be more than this,
Yeah, and that's huge, right? We'll probably maybe talk about that in the rest of the series. That brightness of future is
sure.
is enormous for good people, right? They love to know where they can head.
Let's wrap this one up. We're going to come back in episode 2. We're going to talk about how to use the internal Net Promoter Score. So this is something that, as I mentioned earlier, is kind of new on the radar for our business, but we're looking at actually helping, like putting some software in place through automation, which we can roll out for businesses to help them sort of do these things. Again, it's one of those things that may potentially look little bit rainbows and unicorns, but it becomes super relevant.
And that, I think that's the key thing, Matt, just as we sort of wrap it up is, if we want to be great at employing and building team, we're going to have to do some different stuff.
Sure.
If we just do what everyone else does, we'll get the same results they do. And that's obviously not what we want.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to another episode of Toolbox Talks. If you're liking what you hear, then you can head across to the siteshed.com where you can join our community by signing up to our Toolbox Talks. You'll get sent a weekly notification, which is basically a highlight of everything that we've spoken about during that week, along with any other industry news that may be relevant or specific to the trades. If you're enjoying the show, you can head across to iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, where you can leave us a review. That would be fantastic, and all the reviews get read out in the show. Likewise, if you have any friends or colleagues that you think would benefit from the show and the episodes that we create, then please go ahead and share it with them.